Check. We are live. Let's go. Caleb, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with it. 3 minutes in, 8 minutes late. It has been the craziest morning of my life. Not really, but kind of crazy morning. We are here. We are live. We made it. I spent the entire morning at the ER, or the veterinarian ER. My dog got a massive cut on his leg last night, so I spent the whole morning at the doggy ER. Thankfully, I prepped this podcast before last night, but woo! We are live. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining if you're tuned in. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours. A little bit frazzled this morning, but we made it. We're here. Woo! We got Cassie live in the stream. Shout out Cassie. Shout out Anthony. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, y'all, it's been a little crazy morning here. My sweet doggo Corey, my producer, who normally lays on this couch right behind me, currently in the queue at the doggy vet clinic ER to get, he has to go under, unfortunately. He's going to get a bunch of stitches on his hand. He got a massive cut on his arm last night. So that stinks, but he's going to be okay. So that's the good news. The good news is that he will be okay. And the vet didn't see it as a big priority. There's other stuff. So he's going to keep him for the day. I was able to get my coffee here on time, so that's good too. But that's not why you're here. You're here for the Claims Recruiter Office Hours, my weekly live stream. I go live every single Tuesday. Even when my dog goes to the vet ER in the morning. I didn't shave this morning, wearing a hat, wearing a sweater. That's okay. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're here, got a pretty cool show today. If I get my little notes here. Pretty cool show. First off, starting it off with Hear You Winning segment, the Road to 100. The whole reason for this live stream is to try and help people get jobs in the insurance industry. We're calling it the Road to 100. And it's our goal to help 100 people in the year 2026 get jobs in insurance. So, a little update. We got Robert starting a new job a couple weeks ago, had news. And I guess not every single one of these is when I place someone with, working as a recruiter. But this is one of those ones. So that's pretty cool. So I got to work with Robert. He accepted a job a couple weeks ago. Wanted to wait before I said anything, obviously, for him to give notice and all that fun stuff. But now we can say it. So congrats, Robert. Let's ring the bell. Let's ring the trap horn. We got the trap horn. That's for Robert. Congratulations. Starting your new job next week. Let's go. So, we're going to get right into it. If I can figure out how to do this. Shout out Robert again. But this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. I go live every single Tuesday to talk about claims. I get the same question a lot. And that's like, I'm trying to break into the claims industry. I want to get a job as an insurance adjuster. I want to start my career as an insurance adjuster. And I am just hitting a roadblock. And so I wanted to spend a really good portion of today's live stream just talking about that. And what I would do and what I recommend to people, I'm in the forums a lot. I see this stuff all the time. And it gets me a little bit fired up because I don't like seeing some of the things that I see. And so instead of complaining online or complaining in Facebook forums or arguing with people, I was like, you know what? Let's just do a whole entire podcast episode just about what is, I would consider, good advice. But I want to hear from you all too. So if you're out tuned into the stream, if you're watching, if you're not in that boat of like trying to break into claims, I would love to hear your opinion, your advice, your tips, your whatever 2 cents you have to give. I would love to hear from you tuning in, just so it's not just me saying these things. There's a lot of really cool people in the community here. There's a lot of really smart people. There's a lot of really experienced adjusters, and we know it's a difficult time. It's an interesting time, and so I'd love to hear some other other tips and advice. I will kind of go into things that I prepared and what I would recommend to somebody who is starting out job seeking today. But yeah, would love to hear from you if you're tuned in. And if you're in this boat right now, and if you're looking for your first job, if you've been trying to get work, if you've been putting your resume out there and not heard anything back or not getting interviews or whatever that looks like, I would love to hear from you as well. So, yeah, say hello in the chat. This is live. We're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok here today. I should get my TikTok comments up. So that is what's on the agenda today. Again, if you are tuned in, if you're listening, I'd love to hear your tips, your advice, what you would recommend to someone just starting out in the industry. And we will get into it shortly. Take a big sip of coffee. What a morning. What a morning. People hire people. 100%. Anthony, love it. People hire people. Yeah, you go online, you go on these forums, and everything is just like, oh, you gotta spend $250 and buy my resume template, or I'll custom make your resume. And that the reason that you're not getting jobs is because there's these robots out there that are looking at your resume and all this stuff. And it's not helpful advice, and it's a lot of people trying to sell you things, and it feels scammy. And I do think there are good resume writers in the world. Some of y'all need help with your resumes, if we're being frank. But that's not always the reason. So up. But that's it. That's it. Is in a nutshell, if I could just say in a nutshell of like what I'm about to say in the next 20, 30 minutes, Anthony's comment right there is basically it. It's like, forget all that advice about making the robots happy, keyword stuffing your resume. Yes, you want to have keywords in your resume about things that you know, jobs that you're looking for. You want to have, you're applying for adjuster jobs, sure, you want to have certain keywords in your resume. Does that mean you need to just like stuff your resume full of keywords? No, it means you put your skills and experience the way, you know, that makes sense, that fits that. And so, apologies, I've got this somewhere. Whatever, I don't need it. I made myself a little notepad of notes yesterday, and now I can't find it, but that's okay. That is okay. So yeah, I get this question quite a bit. A lot of people. The first thing I will say here is just right now the claims industry is a really, really interesting place, and I think like a lot of different industries, it's difficult, and it's not just our industry. It's not just claims. It's a lot of different things. And so it's important to kind of research what you're getting into, what you're doing. Here, I got my show plan up. Let's go. It's important to do all that fun stuff too. Research your industry, learn about what you're getting into. But okay, so the first thing I would recommend, if you're out there and you are brand new to insurance, you want to get into this field, you want to get into this industry, is you need to pick a lane and identify like where you want to be, what you want to do. And so that takes some research. There's a ton of different lanes, and if you're starting out right now, I'm not saying you have to pick today and you can't change it. I'm just saying you got to start and do the research. So blank slate, fresh piece of paper, new page out of the notebook, open it up, do some research on what these jobs are like. Talk to people in the industry and learn what you want to do. Do a little inventory of your skill set and try and determine what your ideal job, if you could draw on a piece of paper what your dream claims job is going to be, you want to figure out what that looks like to you. And there's so many different elements to that. You know, one element of that is what the job actually is. Are you handling claims? Are you what types of claims are you handling? Do you want to be an auto claims adjuster? Okay, if you want to be an auto claims adjuster, do you want to be an auto damage adjuster? Do you want to be do you want to work with personal lines? Do you want to work with commercial? Do you want to work with bodily injury? Do you want to be liability adjuster? Do you want to work in workers' comp? Do you want to be a med pay workers? You know, and so even within the different lines, it's not even just auto, property, workers' comp, commercial. It's all these different things. So really do some research on the type of position that you want, and look at different types of companies too. Are you wanting to work as an auto adjuster for a TPA? Do you want to work direct for a carrier? Would you like to work for a small mom and pop independent adjusting firm? Would you like to work for a mutual company? There's all these different types of companies that handle claims. Maybe you want to be a public adjuster. And so research all that stuff and talk to people that are doing it and learn some of the pros and cons of all these different things. And what you want to start working towards is creating a list of 5 companies that are realistic for you to go work at. And you don't need to go find companies that are actually hiring right now. We'll get to that in a minute. But find and write down and target 5 companies right now. And try and find realistic companies. You know, like I live in Portland, Oregon. And so ideally, I'm going to find kind of local companies. So maybe I decide I really want to work for a mutual company. I like the idea of that. They seem to maybe pay a little bit less, but the work-life balance is cool. The way they treat their customers is cool. And I really jive with that. And so I'm going to find the mutual companies. Okay, Oregon Mutual, Mutual v. Enumclaw. They're, you know, who writes policies in my area, who has offices in my area, who works. And again, I don't need to find companies that are hiring right now. Right now, I'm just doing research to figure out what's out there, right? So that's your first thing that you're gonna do before you do anything else. Research what you want to do. Build that. When I start my process as a recruiter, I always do this thing where I create what's called an ideal candidate profile, an ICP. If you're in sales, ideal client profile. If you're a job seeker, you know, you could call it whatever you want, but it's the same kind of idea in sales. Is you're gonna create this persona, and you know, in sales they say like give it a name. You know, give this person a name and figure out all their details. And so I do that. I figure out all the characteristics. I look at their, you know, and it's not always exactly that, but yes. And then so we got Wes Simmons in here saying spot on, niche down, 100%. We got Anthony saying shameless plug for a community resource for property claims, Discord, Adjuster Insights. Shout out Adjuster Insights. Great place. We'll get into the community building later. That's one of the next tips, but no, that's a great call out is again, like you need to go and meet people. And before you're putting your hand up and saying, I want this job, go make some friends in the industry and learn information about what you may or may not be getting into. And so check out, if you're looking to be a property adjuster, Adjuster Insights is a really great place that you can learn to do that and connect with people and meet other adjusters and learn. I learn tons of stuff every day, just honestly sit on the sidelines of that Discord channel. Sometimes I'll just go into the different chat channels and learn about you know, different problems that our adjusters are facing, and it's a really good educational tool for me. So shout out Adjuster Insights, and yeah, we'll talk about that more here in a bit. But that's what we're doing. We really want to niche down, decide where you want to be, draw out that thing, and find 5 companies, write them down on a piece of paper or your notes on your computer, your chat GPT, however you keep things, that thread going. That's step 1, is you need to go find 5 potential companies. Then what you should do is go do a little bit deeper research into these companies and learn about the positions that they have. Let's say I really wanted to be a property adjuster and I think Travelers is a really cool company. I need to go do a little bit more research how people become property adjusters at Travelers. And that might be going on LinkedIn and looking at someone who's a property adjuster at Travelers right now, and then looking at what their background is. So how did they get into that position? What experience did they have before they got that job? And the goal here is to kind of build this realistic pathway, because maybe I want to be a commercial large loss adjuster, but I'm fresh out of college. And I know that no one's going to hire you on to be a commercial large loss adjuster fresh out of college. So if I want to build towards that, I need to research how I get from point A to point B. And there might be a couple steps. It might be point D, E, or F, but you need to start building that. And again, it doesn't matter if these companies are hiring right now or not. We're doing this for the long haul, right? This is a career move. This isn't a jump where it's like, tomorrow I need this job. Maybe you need a job and maybe you need to do something else in the meantime to like provide income. But we're doing this for the long haul. So we've got our 5 companies identified, whoever that might be, and we have kind of a general idea of where we want to go. You don't need to be married to that idea, but we're researching then how do people get there? And then you want to go and look at websites like Glassdoor or go to that company's website and see what jobs they are posting about. Because that's going to help us. Obviously, we can't get hired into a job unless there is a job out there. But just because there's not a job posted on their website today doesn't mean they're not going to hire someone tomorrow. I know how these companies work, and it's better to pick that and hunt that company down as opposed to just mass apply. So we got our 5 companies. We're starting to research these companies. And then a part of that needs to be talking to people who are in the roles. And one of the things I'll say in terms of hiring is when I talk to people about how they get jobs or talk to hiring managers about how they find people, everybody says, basically everybody I talk to is going to say the best place to find good people is referrals within your network, right? And so I'm not trying to give the advice. It's like, go network more, right? Because that's not very helpful. I'm trying to give actionable tips. But the truth is that go network more is the advice. Now we're going to get all these breakdowns of what specific actionable items that you can do to what that actually looks like. But if you apply to a job at Allstate online on their website and put your application in, you're not going to have as good of a chance as if you meet a random person on a Facebook forum who works at Allstate that refers you a link with their name on it, and then you apply to a job. You will have a much better chance of getting that job, right? And so it's a really easy thing. They're probably going to get a bonus too. They want to do this. I see this all the time. People are like, oh, I have referral links. Let me know, we're hiring. That is going to do so much better. And it's simple as having a conversation with that person. They want to make sure, they're going to want to make sure, learn a little bit about your background. But that's one example. Not saying that's what's going to work for everybody, but I do guarantee that random application online or referral link through a current employee is going to work a lot better. So that's why we're going to do is we're going to go out, we're going to start networking with people that work there. And the conversation when you reach out to somebody, if like, let's say I'm online, I find that person on Facebook. The DM slide is not, hey, I really need a job. I see you work at Allstate. Can you help me? The DM slide is, hey, I see you work at Allstate. I'm really interested in a career in insurance. I'd love to hear your perspective about it. What do you think about working there? How did you get into the industry? What would you recommend to someone brand new? And people are going to talk to you. You know, you're going to have a lot better chance of having actual conversations with people if there's no ask involved. If the ask is like, hey, I want to learn information. I want to learn more about you. I want to be your friend. You know, I'm trying to network with people in the area and just kind of learn what's going on. So that's what that looks like. So research that. talk to people. The other thing that you're going to want to do is go on Glassdoor, go look at their job descriptions, and you want to basically see is like, is this even feasible for where I want to go right now? If I want to be a property adjuster and I look at all of their job descriptions and they need 5 years of experience to work there, and I have 0 years of experience to work there, I need to realign my expectations with reality. Um, and that might mean not being able to go work at that particular company, but that might also mean looking at different jobs within that company that can get you to where you want to go. Maybe you need to start in first notice of loss. Maybe you need to start as an underwriting assistant. Maybe they're hiring a marketing assistant. You don't know anything about marketing, but you really want to work at that company, and that's your foot in the door. And so that's where you need to start aligning yourself with what the job descriptions and what the qualifications are. I posted TikTok about basically poking fun at like people online that mass apply and then get really angry about not getting any responses. And the context was basically like, you need to make sure you're aligning your skills and experience with what the job things, what the job description is. And people are like, well, if I only applied to jobs that I qualified for, there'd be no jobs to apply for. And like people were mad at me about it. And it's kind of like, well, that's the point. That is the point. If you're applying to, I want to be an NBA player. And if there's a job out there as an NBA basketball player, I'll put in my application, and I can't get mad when they say, hey, you have, you're a 33-year-old dude with arthritis and you can't jump. Like, and I know that it's tough to hear and people want that, but that's the truth. Is like, if you're mass applying to jobs that you don't qualify for, or have no qualifications that are even close, you got to start realigning what that looks like. And so I'm not saying don't apply for every job. That you know, there's a mix. I'm not saying you have to be 100% qualified, but you got to be 60%. You have to have some of the qualifications. And if the job description clearly says, hey, you need 10 years of experience and you've got 0, you're probably not going to have a very good chance at that job. Now, if it says you need 1 year of experience and you have 0, that's a different story. You're a little bit closer. Maybe you have some of the other qualifications and you can prove you have really good customer service skills, or maybe you have a background in auto estimating and it can line up. But you want to make sure that the jobs that you're looking at and the jobs that you're shooting for and applying for and putting your energy in working towards they're actually realistic. There are entry-level adjuster positions, but there's also a lot of positions that are entry-level that are good gateways into being an adjuster. Back in the day when I used to do a lot of staffing for State Farm, I would get calls all the time, and I really want a job. I'll take anything. I'll take anything. And then we'd have an auto, what they call an ECTA position, external claims task assistant. So it's not an adjusting job. You know, the adjuster job would pay $37 an hour. The ECTA position would pay $25 an hour. And it was a task assistant. So you're doing things like coordinating rental cars. You're not determining liability. You're not making payouts, but you're assisting in the claims process. So I always recommended to people, I know you want to be an adjuster. Someone calls you with this ECTA assignment, you should take it. And you'd be shocked at the number of people that wouldn't take that job because they wanted to make $37 an hour instead of $27. Well, in reality, that $27 an hour job was their gateway into the higher paying job that they just said no to. And so the same concept applies here. Is identify the companies, identify where you want to be, what you want to do, connect with people in that industry, and then start aligning your skills with what jobs are out there and are available. And it's some of the things that it's going to be beyond the job description. A lot of times job descriptions are written by people in HR that don't truly understand what the actual job is, what the actual job entails, what the actual qualifications they are looking for. So it's this kind of more polished, there's some legal stuff involved, it's got to go through HR. Sometimes the message kind of gets muddled along the way, especially at larger companies. And there's things that you're only going to learn from actually talking to people who are making the hiring decisions or witnessing this. Some of the people on the ground floor, some of the people working. So, learning that information and learning from people and learning what skills and qualifications the hiring managers are looking for is going to help you build those skills and align with those companies. So once we do that, we identify the companies, we identify where we want to be, start talking to people, start learning what the positions look like, what skills they're looking for. Then it's time to kind of start building our resume towards that. And when I say build a resume, what I don't mean is format a Word document. What I mean is doing some of the things that these hiring managers are actually looking for. I think the easiest one that we talk about is getting a license. Like a lot of these positions need a license. And so if you don't have a license, that's step one, but that's just one example of things that you do to kind of build. A second thing that you can very easy and it doesn't cost you a whole lot is to join some of these groups like Adjuster Insights Discord. Rise Insurance Professionals is another really good group, and you can start doing some of these education. And it's going to benefit you so much more than kind of just the education. But that's the next step that I would highly recommend. Start hanging out where people that do these jobs hang out. And this could be any industry. That doesn't even have to just. I work in insurance. This is all I do is claims adjusters and work with claims professionals. But you could take the same concept and apply it to accounting. You want to start hanging out where these people are hanging out. And one of the places that adjusters hang out loosely, is professional networking events. I went to RIMS in Los Angeles last week, and we got to go to the LA RIMS. It was a beautiful event in Santa Monica. I hung out with a ton of claims professionals. That was, for me, I do work. I have clients in that area, so it made sense for me to travel. You don't have to travel to LA to hang out with claims professionals. Most likely, wherever you live, there's a group or groups of professionals that have networking events. There's probably a roofer or a contractor out there that's putting on a free lunch CE. There's probably an event, a live burn event that's put on by an engineering firm. And a lot of this stuff is totally free for you to go to, especially if you have a license already. They want to get adjusters. They put on educational events, and it's a good way for them to get their name out there, and then people refer them business. Basically, it's why they do it. But these events happen all the time, and I live in Denver, especially. I got invited to these events all the time. Hey, our contractors, roofing companies putting on a lunch and learn. Go to this restaurant and get free lunch, listen to this guy talk for 30 minutes, and then hang out with a bunch of people. It's a really good way to meet people, and it's also a good way to learn about things that are happening in the industry, repair techniques, and all that different type of thing. And a lot of times, again, there's no cost involved, so it's a no-brainer. But that's what you want to do is, once you have your sights set on what you want to do, try and hang out with the people that are doing the work, or that are around the people doing the work, or the people that are adjacent. And one of the things I've learned in the kind of the sales business and starting my own business is, the contractors or the kind of adjacent industries, whether it be additional living expenses or contents companies or roofing companies or engineering firms, like these people, especially the business development people, they are just like pedal to the metal marketing, meeting everyone they possibly can, and they just know all the information. They know the companies in the area. They know who's hiring. They know who's a good company to work with, who's not good company to work with. They have all this information because they talk to the people. And just because you're not trying to get hired by a roofing company, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have a conversation with the roofing people, because they know the info. And so don't sleep on kind of these like adjacent industries, the people that are at these events, even if they can't. That's the one thing I can't stand when I go to networking events. Sometimes people like look at your name tag and just like run away. And it's like, okay, I get it. I'm a recruiter. Like I'm not having a conversation when I show up to just like, I'm not trying to recruit you or poach your people. I'm just trying to meet friends and like gain information. I'm getting initiated into the Blue Goose. the insurance professional organization tonight. Congrats. I have no idea what the Blue Goose is. What is the Blue Goose? I've never heard of that before, but that sounds awesome. That sounds sweet. And it sounds like an awesome place to meet people. And yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Blue Goose. Is that like a national thing? Into the Blue Goose. Educate me. Love to hear more about this. But yeah, good luck, Caleb. Sounds cool. Initiation. That always sounds cool. Initiation sound fun. But now we'll get to the resume. And this is where I hear online, like, constantly, people are like, the reason you're not getting jobs is because your resume stinks and you need to pay me a bunch of money and I'll fix your resume and stuff it with keywords. You know, and all this stuff. It's just like, they have ponds across the country. The Honorable Order of the Blue Goose. I love it. Fraternal charitable organization, P&C Professionals, founded in 1906. Association golf tournament. Yeah, you meet these people at golf. I just need to sponsor more holes. I'm never gonna. Sorry. Blue Goose. Local chapters are called Ponds. Members are called Ganders. Character, charity, fellowship, networking, fundraiser. Yeah. And then, yeah, you can get things like life insurance. Yeah, it's just like, it's sometimes just an excuse for a bunch of people who are like-minded to hang out together and talk and chat and have beers or play golf or, you know, whatever that looks like. There's different ones, you know, maybe you go to one and it's not for you, or you meet some people and it's not your vibe. There's different places that you can hang out. I try and do everything. I should probably do less things and do more of specific things. One of the ones I'm trying to do more of is local RIMS chapter events. They do lunch and learns here once a month at the Spaghetti Factory, and they're small, not a whole lot of people. I need to start going to. I've been to a few. I kind of go off and on, but I just need to put it in my calendar and make it to every single one. Meet more people locally. RIMS is a really good one. Again, Rise does pop-ups, and it's a really cool organization. They do a lot of like online networking type events. They do lots of like podcasts, and they do pop-ups across the country, and they also have the mentorship program. And so I've loved my time volunteering with Rise, but also like a participant and learning and checking out their podcasts. And I've met a ton of really cool people with Rise. If you're here listening, come out to the West Coast, come out to California. I'll see you wherever you come. Just come out to the West Coast sometime, please. And they will. They've come out to the West Coast. So next time they're in like LA or San Francisco, I'm gonna go hit up the Rise event. You don't have to spend tons of money at these big conferences and stuff. A lot of these things, again, are free. You can find fire departments will do the burn events. A burn event's like totally cool, but you don't have to be super experienced to go to RIMS. Yeah, it's a lot of what I found with RIMS is a lot of brokers, not a lot of adjusters. But I love talking to broker. I learn, it's a part of the industry that I wish I knew more about, and it's really good to go and learn kind of how that whole side of the industry works. Are you doing as a mentor or a mentee, Caleb? I'm curious. I did it too. I applied to, or I just did the training thing. I'm gonna be a mentor. I believe they were still looking for mentors as of like, they had more mentees sign up. So I'm gonna try it out. I've had some really cool mentors in my insurance journey. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be cool. Good way to connect with people, and I'm sure I'll learn from whoever I get paired up with. But yeah, doing these events, meeting people, having conversations with other human beings, it's gonna like if and then that's what I just hear constantly, and I giggle and I laugh because it's like you go online and you go on the Facebook forums, and it's like, oh, your resume, it's your resume, it's never your resume. Sometimes it is your resume. I'm not gonna say that it's never your resume because I've seen some of the worst. I want to be a mentee. Yeah, for sure. No, and that's awesome. Eh, and I'm curious to hear how it goes for you. Um, I'm curious. I currently do through another organization called Score. I when I started my business, I signed up for this called Score. I don't know what Score's nonprofit. There's local chapters all over the country. Um, and basically what it is you get assigned a mentor, and then you can kind of pick what it's for small business owners. And so I signed up and I said that I really wanted to I basically I need help with like marketing and sales. And so they paired me with someone who worked in sales for their whole. So I have a mentor named Jim. Shout out Jim. I doubt Jim is listening to this, but if you are, shout out to Jim. And I meet with Jim once a month, sometimes more, and he has been instrumental in me being able to get to where I'm at with my business. Really incredible to have him. Jim is retired and volunteers his time to sit and be my therapist at times, but I kind of work through some problems, and he knows my business and my plan kind of in and out, and working through problems, working through deals, working through, sales presentations. Jim has been a huge help. And so it's through a different organization than Score, but I've had kind of a small business mentor now for the last year. We meet at least an hour a month, sometimes more. Sometimes we talk for more than an hour, but it's been a really cool experience for me. He's become a friend. So yeah, I'm excited to do the same thing with Rise and hopefully help someone out, maybe in the beginning stages there, as much as I can, or can help someone. And excited about it. So yeah, things like that. I mean, you're job searching, if you're trying to break into insurance, if you're trying to get your job, it's a really good place to learn and network is right there in Rise. And you probably, if you're listening to this or watching this, you probably missed this most recent one. They do it, I think, twice a year. And so it's really cool. I mean, it's a really good organization. I did the training. It's really thorough. And so I'm really excited for it. But again, that's kind of where we're at in kind of this conversation of how to break into claims. Is we got this far, we haven't even talked about resumes yet. And so it's so much more than formatting your resume in Word or Canva. It's building the knowledge and then the skills and experience to make yourself attractive to potential employers. And a lot of that, before you can do your resume, you have to understand what they're looking for when they see that resume. It's not just about putting keywords on your resume. It's about actually building the skills and experience. And yes, there are people out there that do not know how to make resumes. Need help with this, and that's okay, and that's fine too. But the majority of the time when someone reaches out and says, hey, I'm really struggling to break into the industry, here's my resume, it's not their resume. The formatting, there's certainly probably things that they better or prettier, but the resume is just a minuscule part of that. But yeah, it is important to do things with your resume. And I do want to point out, like, a lot of the tips that I see online are like, hey, big problem is, you don't have enough keywords on there, and there's going to be this robot out there, that ATS, the applicant tracking system, is going to read your resume and it's going to deny you before it ever gets to a human. And as someone who's toured probably around 40 different applicant tracking systems or ATSs, I've been proficient in about 6 of them. I've used probably 10 in my career. I've looked at these, I've talked to a lot of people, and what I'm here to tell you is I have not seen in my career a single product that filters out resumes before they get to a human. I know that's a lot of the rhetoric online. I just know it's a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people selling resume services that are telling you that. I'm telling you, show me a product that does it. Go out and find a product. Go tour Greenhouse. Go tour Lever. Go look at Recruiter Flow. Go look at Manitowl. Go look at Workday. Go look at any of these products. ADP. Go find me one that does this and tell me about it, and I will happily I will happily say I was wrong. I will call them out because it's despicable, but I don't believe that there is any. And I think that the Workday lawsuit in California is a really good example of what would happen if that were the case. I could do a whole episode on the Workday lawsuit in California. We'll see what happens there. I'm really curious to see what happens there. I think that's going to be a lesson for everybody. But yeah, if you are a company out there selling a product or using AI to yes or no candidates, you're gonna get sued. You're gonna immediately get sued. And it's not even just the companies doing it that are getting sued. It's the actual manufacturers of the software getting sued. So the liability on something like that, what I have seen is resume basically rank. And what I'm here to tell you as a recruiter is what we're looking for when we're scanning resumes and doing a quick once over is we're looking for people with basic requirement. You know, it's like I'm hiring for a claims manager position. I'm looking for someone who's worked in claims. And 80% of the resumes that are coming in online are not. I just did a post about how I spent $500 on Indeed ads. Basically, I spent $500 on a real job that I'm actively working and got, I think, 36 resumes, and not a single person on them had claims experience. I cannot hire someone for a claims manager position that does not have any claims experience, right? So that's the type of stuff that we're really scanning for. Really scanning for, like, hey, does this person have like any sort of claims related experience? No, next. No, next. No, next. And that's what that's looking for. Spend time building a resume. Do you need to, at the bottom of your resume, put white print with 75 keywords so the ATS scores your resume higher? No. What you need to do is build and develop skills that these companies are looking for, and then accurately talk about that in, your resume in a way that a human would read it. And the formatted thing is a myth. And I did that on one of these a couple weeks ago where I basically took the word, I had ChatGPT build me resumes that were not ATS compliant. And then I put them into my actual ATS to see if they would pull in and bring in keywords. And they all did. Even on the worst possible resumes, they still brought in all the keywords. So, yeah, you want to build your resume. Again, you've built a target list. You've built a list of kind of positions, and then you want to tailor your resume towards kind of that ideal job profile. You don't need to tailor your resume for every single one. What I will say is it's good to tailor your resume for like a type of job description. So like if I'm applying for entry-level property field adjuster roles, and I'm also applying for entry-level auto adjusting roles, I might have one resume for auto and one resume for property, but I don't need to go in and keyword match every single resume. If you're doing that, again, you're probably not niched down far enough. You need to look at what jobs you're applying to and see if you actually have the skills and experience to do those jobs. So, Yeah. Yep. 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 And then let's see what else we got here on my little list. So the last thing I just talk about, again, this is not a new thing, but it's just kind of a the best advice I can give is conversations are going to do better or are going to help you out more in the long run than mass applying. And I'm not saying don't apply to jobs, but try and have conversations. And especially if the companies that you're looking at aren't actively applying, meet people there. Like, I think about my last job as a recruiter. If someone called me up and said, "Hey, I see that you're working as a recruiter for Eberl Claim Service. This seems like a really cool job. Like, can you tell me more about it? I'm really interested in doing it." My response is going to be like, "Oh, sorry, we're not hiring." I'm going to have a conversation with that person. And even if I'm not hiring right then and there, I'm going to remember that. And chances are, 2 months later, when your coworker quits, everyone groans and is like, "Oh, we got to fill this seat." You're going to be the hero. And you're like, "Oh, I found a pretty cool candidate online who I've been talking to who's really interested in this job. Maybe we should give them a shot." So, you know, you don't have to just go straight to the company website and do it that way, but meet people, have conversation. Not there doesn't need to be an ask involved. There's like, "Hey, I need this," but make friends with these people. And pretty soon you're like your buddy with the manager and they have an opening, or maybe they have an opening in a different department and they can get you in. Like those relationships, genuine relationships with other people it's gonna help you out in the long run. But yeah, another place that you can do, and I highly recommend this, is just joining communities of people, whether that be, the worst is the Facebook forums. Is you can go do those and you can learn a little bit, and then a lot of just saltiness, and anywhere where people post anonymously is difficult, but you can still learn from people, still connect with people. I still connect with people uh from this podcast, on the Facebook forums. It's a good place. But communities like Rise, communities like Adjuster Insights, Discord channels, Reddit threads, local communities like the Blue Goose, like the RIMS is another one, CLM is another one. Chances are there's a claims organization in your area. So look up your area claims organization. For me, it's Oregon Claims Association. Also a Puget Sound, or like the basically like the Seattle area one. There's all these different claim organizations, and a lot of these things don't cost a lot. CPCU Society, that's another thing, is just like the educational aspect of this is really important and smart, and something that I think is underutilized. But go pay for one class of your AIC and put on your resume working towards your AIC. You don't have to pay the whatever $2,000 it is, the whole thing. Start taking one class, and that's going to unlock doors, and you can meet other people who are also taking that. You're going to learn really good information, and it's something that you can add to your resume for fairly cheap. But I mean, that's a totally underused thing. And I just had this conversation with someone recently where it's like, they asked me to look at their resume, and I looked. They had a bunch of posts online about how they were taking their CPC. They're working towards their CPCU. And I said, "Why don't you have that on your resume?" "Well, it's not done yet." Well, you put in how many hours to, already to do it. Just put in on your resume, one quick line, CPCU in progress, estimated completion date 2028. That's going to put you above so many people without even realizing it. A person didn't even have it on their resume. So, that's it. That's what I got. That's kind of what I got. And don't stop. Realistically, it's not, isn't like a 2-week thing. It takes people a very long time to do this. And if you're hitting roadblocks over and over, or if you're not getting anywhere, maybe go back to step one and look at the research phase. Maybe if it's not working out, you need to like realign that goal of where you need to be, what you want to do. I've talked to a lot of people who are looking to be independent property adjusters. And if we don't get a storm in the next 6 weeks, it's going to be not good for brand new independent property adjuster the next 6 months, unfortunately. So again, doing that research on the front end, aligning yourself to what's realistic. A hurricane hits tomorrow. You work galore for all the property adjusters out there. But if there's not going to be a hurricane tomorrow, I'm not saying there's not going to be a big hurricane this year. We never know. But, you know, that's one of the things I talk to a lot of independent adjusters who are looking for independent adjusting work, looking for desk assignments, looking for deployments, and do need to align what you want to do with what the market is saying. So sometimes if it's taking a really long time or if it's not working, it's time to reassess. And for some people, that's difficult. And for some people, that means less in terms of pay. And I think that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes. But it's also just the reality of being a job seeker working in this market. And I think, especially on the property, independent adjusters is like when there's feasts, there's feasts, and when there's famines, there's famines. You can't necessarily plan your life around there always being a big feast, you know. Not always going to be these terms. In the last few years haven't been. Bonus when it happens, it's great when it does, but been 6 months. If it's been a year, maybe it's time to kind of reassess what you're at. And I know that's a tough pill to swallow, and I know that's a pay cut for a lot of people, but that's kind of hurricane work. But it's good, but it's not always good. That's what we got. I started a couple minutes late, so I'll do a few more minutes here. You're tuned in. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's been a wild Tuesday. It's been a crazy Tuesday. Ooh, it's been an interesting day, but hopefully it gets better. Our producer Corey is currently in doggy surgery. It sounds like getting anesthesia, so he can get, it will likely be 10 stitches. So, not good. Really weird. The door in the middle of the night. Underneath the door, I didn't realize the door like went over and kind of scraped his hand, and he got not good. Happened about 1 a.m. this morning after I dropped the wife off at work. $1,800 later. Hopefully we got a fixed up dog. Hopefully he's good. So, but here we are. This is the Claims Recruiter office hours. Going to the ER vet in the morning doesn't stop me from going live on a Tuesday. So here we are. Let's see what else we got. How long should this actually take? Has been forever. I'd be curious to know what the average time it takes a job seeker to find a job. That's a perplexity question. Perplexity. Sponsor the show. Not really. How long does it take for average job seeker to find a job? In the United States, a practical expectation to find a new job is 3 to 6 months. The latest federal figures show a median unemployment duration of 11 weeks, meaning half of unemployed people have been searching for less time and half longer. While the average is roughly 25 weeks. Search takes longer if you are targeting senior, specialized, or highly competitive roles, switching careers, or limited to a particular city, salary range, schedule, or remote only work. And that's the other thing I didn't really touch on here is if you are trying to break into claims right now and you are only available to do remote only jobs, real talk, you're going to have a hard time. You need to be open to traveling or relocating or at least going into an office in your area. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying that it's impossible. What I'm saying is it's extremely difficult and it's definitely not common right now. I think we're seeing this more and more. Companies are going back into the office. Um, Put out a little study that I did uh, where I surveyed adjusters, and the number one thing that adjusters want is to work. So it's really interesting to see that. That was my expectation doing this survey. I thought that was going to be the case. It's done. I've closed it. I am going to put out a if you took it and put your email address in, I'm picking someone for a $75 gift card that'll go out on Friday. So if you did that survey, still have not drawn that yet. That'll go out this end of this week. So be on the lookout for that. But it is something that is really interesting. It seems to be the number one thing that people value, but it seems to be less and less common than it was maybe even 2 years ago. People are moving back into the office, going hybrid. So if you're a company out there, it is a really good way to attract good talent, but especially if you're entry level, it's going to be really difficult to find your first job in claims where you are 100% remote. Frankly, I wouldn't recommend it. If I'm being 100% honest, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think most people can handle it. I don't think most people can learn effectively, and I don't think average person going to have a good experience doing that. Maybe that's puts me in the minority. Maybe that's a hot topic. Maybe that, I don't know. But honestly, even like just being a recruiter, learning the industry, I learned so much from having like cool people next to me and hearing their phone conversations, vibing off each other, learning about other people's problems. I know you can do that on Teams. I know you can have conversations. It's not the same. And so I would personally, if I was going to start a career as adjuster tomorrow and learn from somebody, I would want to be in an office. But yeah, just realistically, it's going to be very difficult for you if you are. Yeah, that's about how long it takes. So on average, 3 to 6 months. So I know people need income, and you gotta do this for it takes a long haul. So that's probably what I should start when people reach out to me and say, hey, I want to switch industry. Hey, it's gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a minute. And you're gonna have to do some things. It's gonna cost money. Do you need a college degree to be in claims? Not necessarily. It helps, certainly. You don't necessarily need it, but you're going to have to do some things. A college degree costs $100,000 nowadays. And so no, you're not gonna be able to jump into claims by doing nothing, or just flying. You're gonna have to do some things. You're gonna have to spend some money. You're gonna have to take some trainings. You're gonna have to do some certification. So that's how long it takes. Already, do I really? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the things that people say to do to optimize your resume, I agree with most of them. The one that I don't agree with is just like putting a ton of keywords. I know a lot of people want to do that, and sure, put a bunch of but at the top of your resume, customer service and negotiating and good with people and lead cross-functional teams, and that means absolutely nothing to the person reading your resume. I just want you to know that when you put key skills at the top of your resume and put expert negotiator and damage estimator, anybody can write those words on a resume. It does not mean that you're a good negotiator. It does not mean that you're a good estimator. It does not mean you're good with customer service. It means you wrote words. I want you to show me that. And if you don't put the keywords up top, First off, it's not gonna take every keyword. It's gonna prioritize certain ones. Is really interesting to me. How does it prioritize which keywords? But it's still gonna pull keywords out of your resume, what you're saying, the context of what you're saying. So instead of putting that big keyword section, you want to talk about the skills that you have and the qualifications that you have and the experiences that you have in your resume, and it's going to pull out those keywords. So for the most part, I agree with a lot of the stuff that, like, optimizing your resume for the ATS. You want your resume in a clean, readable format. You don't want to have 2 columns. You want to have nice bullet points. You want to have full sentences. You want to have good action verbs. You want to have specific keywords that are related to the job you're applying for. That doesn't mean you go put keywords in. It just means that you create your resume for that ideal job profile that we talked about earlier. So, no, you should optimize your resume for a human, but that's also going to work really well for an ATS. That's my soapbox on the ATS. Yes. And again, here's my challenge to you. If you can find an applicant tracking system, a software out there that does what everyone online is saying that you just, it's just going in and putting resumes in the no pile without looking at it. If you can find that, please reach out to me. Let me know. I will be the first person to say, hand up, I was wrong, and go change everything that you're doing, and start optimizing it. But up until this point, not been able to find someone that has been able to do that. I'll give you $100, $100 if you can find me a resume or a ATS that does. And I'll be like, oh, Workday's getting sued for it. Go tour Workdays. Doesn't do it. Doesn't do it. Consider me your #1 Workday hater online. I can't stand Workday. I think it's a terrible product, but I don't think that they're doing it. At least that's not by my experience. I know there's different levels of what people have in Workday. That'll be an interesting Reddit thread to go down, but everyone says network, but I don't know. And this is like this is what I always get on the TikTok comments. It's like, when I say go have conversations over applications, you get people in there, they're like, well, I don't know anybody. And it's like, I've been working in this career for so long, and everyone I know retired. Well, go to RIMS, go to Rise, go to Blue Goose, meet people. You want this job so bad that you won't try anything. You know, that's the feedback that you hear online. So, you got to do some things. It's not easy. You got to think the average job application gets 200 applications. How do you beat 200 applications? Especially if you don't have all the skills that they're looking for. How do you beat that? And the answer is networking, knowing people, making relationships, and having conversations with people, making friends. So that's it. That's all I got for today, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. If you tuned in, apologies for being late. Yeah, it was a crazy morning. Crazy morning at the emergency vet. Dropped my wife off at work at 6. Went to the vet. Made it here by 9. Go pick up my dog later. Hopefully he is a-okay. Less pain than he was when I dropped him off. I have some stitches. He should be fine. Not too worried, but appreciate you sticking in here again. Shout out Robert, number 29 on the road to 100. Pretty exciting. Again, we'll trap horn for Robert. Congrats on the new position. It's been a couple weeks. We've known this for a while, but didn't want to say it in the show until his current boss knows. So now his current boss knows. Anthony, thanks so much for spending the whole hour, dude. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Shout out, if you're still here, shout out Adjuster Insights. Check out Adjuster Insights in the Discord. Anthony put a comment in there. Again, especially if you're a property adjuster, if you're looking to be a property adjuster, you want to network with really cool people. You want to learn from really cool people. I learned a ton from being in the Adjuster Insights group. I learned a bunch about appraisals, about estimating techniques, about issues that people have. It's also just a really cool place where you can go and like, hey, I don't know what this, you see it in some of the Facebook forums. Someone will go in there and say, I don't know what to put in Xactimate for this line item. Does anybody have any help? And there'll be like 25 comments that's just like, you don't know this? You're an idiot. And it's like, you go to Adjuster Insights and you'll have 5 people be like, oh yeah, I have that same problem. Here's what I'll do. And this is what it's night and day. It's night and day. Like it's just a fresh of breath air. When people actually want to help each other instead of like put each other down. So especially if you're a property, even if you're not a property adjuster, go check them out. Adjuster Insights Discord channel. Can't find it, reach out to me. I will send you a link. Really cool people, really helpful people, professional community. Talk about, Xactimate. You can also talk about fantasy football. It's a really cool place. Yeah, shout out you guys. Thanks for being here, Anthony. Anyways, y'all have a great rest of your day. Happy Tuesday.